Oftenly you have heard that there is a cloud, right? And in cloud, we are just using someone else's computer. That computer which sits somewhere in the data center and via internet we are just accessing it. But we are not owning that computer, right? We are just using according to our environment as a platform as a service. But well, in this video, in this series, we are going to learn how you can own that computer. So welcome guys, welcome to our Zero to Hero RHCSA journey, which I am starting from today, and where we will see that okay, what is the Linux, why Linux is important, where it is being used, right? What is the community support, what all about open source, who can contribute the open source, and top of that, what Red Hat is doing with the Linux. Because we know that Red Hat Linux is a open source, right? It is a open source, but you might be aware that we need to purchase a subscription from the Red Hat to get the help from the on the top of Linux, right? So isn't it a kind of confusion, right? On the one hand, we are saying it is a open source, right? And on the second side, we are saying that you need to purchase a subscription, right? So we will discuss all these details in a very deep so that the confusion will not be there, right? So let's start. So this is the first introduction video where we will see that okay what Linux is and how you can install it, from where you can get it, and all these stuff we are going to see. So this is a kind of master RHCSA course where we will be using a RHEL 9 or maybe a RHEL 10 machine, where we will see that okay what is the learning path you need to understand to like get your hands on Linux, right? Because Linux is all about the command line. When you use a computer, right, Windows OS computer, so clicking that icons, scrolling from here and there, closing the buttons, that is very easy job. But what if you want to run the server with the very powerful operating system, right? Yeah, it is very powerful, which leads almost every system, right? Because it is able to run the world's leading bank servers, hospitals, top 500 supercomputer across the world, your stock market, your many of the web application. All these are using under the this Linux operating system because it is very secure operating system. Okay, so what is Linux? So Linux is an open source system that manages your computer hardware, allow you to software to run, right? Just like Windows and Mac OS. Yes, Linux is also one of the operating system. Its core Linux is based on the Linux kernel, right? That is the power, that is the everything which is makes this Linux as a very interesting operating system is that Linux kernel, because Linux kernel is the core of your operating system, which talks to your hardware basis on your instruction, right? So what is Linux is very high level. It is the kernel, and around the kernel we have binded some tools, and using those tools we have set up our application, and that becomes a full-fledged operating system, right? So it acts between your hardware and software, obviously. It handles your process management, memory management, file system, security, and the other stuff, that network, everything which is or will be there in the operating system, right? That will be handled by your Linux operating system. But why Linux is important? Why everybody talks about that as of today that Linux is important? Because Linux is almost everywhere. It is being used worldwide as of today. The critical technology for IT professional to understand the Linux to deal with other technologies. When I say other technologies, maybe the Python you are running, or maybe you are doing some kind of automation, right? You are because it is very secure operating system, and almost every financial, defense, system, education, that everybody, there are hell lot of communities which works on these Linux improvement on there, which we'll see what is the upstream project for the Linux, what is the downstream project for the Linux, right? And what is the midstream project for. So we'll see that all these. But yeah, this is something that which runs your everything, right? You can just go through with this document, right? The great thing about Linux is it is open source, right? Means we can see how this works. We have the access to its code. If you are well understand the code, then you can just literally understand how exactly it is working. We have access to the source code. We can easily experiment with source code, update, modify, and also share with others to use, which leads to improvement in innovation in the source code. Yeah, so that is the open source where you have the access and you can modify, you can update the existing code, and you can just build on top of your own product, right? So that is what that. And Linux provide a command line interface. That's what I mentioned, right? Because clicking with the icon, playing with here and there with the mouse, that is very easy, right? But what empowers the Linux is command line interface, right? Which is very, very funny thing and very important, like to deal with all these stuff, right? So what is open source? As we mentioned, open source software is available to everyone with the source code that anyone can use, experiment, modify, and share with others. Yes, you don't need to spend any single penny on this because it is already there, right? You can just download, get the source code and modify it, and you can use it, right? Source code is set of human readable instructions that are used to make a program. Code might be in interpretive form, but such as script or compiled into a binary, but that computer can run directly. So that is what that open source software code is. And when it becomes copyright, when you create it, right? Because you hold that terms and condition of to which you are applied on that. If you are using, then it becomes a source, copyright source, right? Some software use closed source, only the creator and company can see the changes. The code users can only run the software, no access to modifier. Some are open source software where the creator allows everyone to run the software, view the codes, modify it, share it with others, and usually free to use and distribute, right? But when we say this is free, right, that doesn't mean that it will not come with any kind of license. It will come, but that again as a kind of open source license. So generally we have two types of open source license. One is something called copyleft license, right? It is basically if you heard about that general public GNU based, right? General public license, which comes with the Linux operating system, right? And the second one is the permissive license. Permissive license is something like where you need to, it is also very free, but it is sometime where you wanted to focus on more reusability of that code, right? So copyright in general term, if I talk about, if you use it, you must keep it open. You cannot just put some restriction behind around that code, right? It must be open. Still, you have built something, still a possibility that community developer will get that code and modify again. So that's what that GNU is. But permissive licenses do whatever you want, right? But just give the credit. You have to say that okay, this is comes from that particular proprietary, or maybe comes from that particular community, right? You have to give the credit, and top of that, that you can build your own system and you can sell it, but you need to keep the original license notice with that code, right? So now it's being a while that we are talking about open source, but who exactly do this open source? Because this is open source, right? And everybody can get it, and then they can just run it, right? Then what is the benefit? Who is creating this open source software, right? So open source is generally built by companies, developers, community. They are working with this with the cooperation with each other and then creating these software, because they are continuously working to innovate, to enhance this code, to get the new software, new security fixes, new bug fixes, right? To make it more secure, and to make more friendly, right? So we have the companies like Red Hat, which generally supports the open source project. If I talk about the Linux, so for Linux we have the open source project called Fedora, right? It- just recently that Fedora version 44 version is released, which is the in the upstream of the RHEL 10, right? Because RHEL 10 was released on the Fedora version number 10, and now it is Fedora 44, right? So Companies like Red Hat, which empowers, right, which financially supports these kind of open source project, like Fedora for the Linux, AWS for the Ansible. If I talk about the Foreman, which is for the satellite and content management, so these are these which is where the companies and the professional developers, right, they work closely to get all these stuff very secure and to enhance, right? So these companies will pay to these developers. Then we have the community where we have the some volunteer which they just contribute to the independent developer. They don't need, they are not getting paid basically. So they just contribute to the bug fixes, small feature, documentation, all these stuff. They just follow and they put all these stuff. Apart from that, we have the academic and research community where we have that big universities. They are just continuously researching or maybe making a new code to make new technology. They are experimenting their feature. Like nowadays, everybody is talking about AI, right? Cloud security, SecOps, all these. So where we have all these, community comes and they work closely on these open source software and make it more secure, more user friendly, more featureable, where we have the many things. So what is Linux distribution, right? So Linux kernel is the core component of the Linux distribution that we already talked about, right? So on top of this Linux core, right, you can create your own Linux distribution. Like we have this Red Hat, we have the CentOS, we have the, if I talk about in the Debian family, we have the Ubuntu, we have Debian, right? We have SUSE, we have Kali Linux, we have Scientific Linux. So there are many Linux distribution, right? But we will focus on the CentOS and the Red Hat in this. So this is nothing that a Linux distribution and installable operating system that is constructed from a Linux kernel and that supports user program and library, right? In the very first line, we have seen that, okay, very high level, what is this kernel, then tools and application, which is completely build the operating system, and that operating system we can install in our system. So that's what it is talking about. It is a completely installable operating system that is constructed from the Linux kernel and supports user programs and libraries, right? The kernel is the core of operating system which manages hardware, memory, process, and everything. Linux part, traffic, networking, so all these, right? But on all these, who is Red Hat? What Red Hat does exactly, right? So Red Hat is a leading global provider for the enterprise open source software solution. They are best known for their version Linux operating system, which is something called the RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Okay. So they work mostly on this open source project, right? But they have this, right? Unlike uh, they have the proprietary code, right? They have the rights to sell it. Why? Because they takes the open source project like Linux, Kubernetes, Ansible, and they hardens them. Harden means they just put the features. They will enhance it, right? And then they can sell it. And what is the business model for the Red Hat? Red Hat business model is very unique because the software itself is often free to download in its community, right? Yeah, that's what I'm telling, right? It is a open source, right? You can just get the, let's say that I'm talking about the Linux. So you can get the Linux ISO, you can install it, right? Right? But what is that support, right? If any of the security fixes or anything, right? Then they make money through subscription, right? So that subscription model is something that they are just talking about all these. And continuous security patch, yeah, if you buy the subscription, obviously you will get this continuous security patch, updates, bug fixes, right? Professional technical support. If something is not working, if something is broken, right, then you can just raise a case with the Red Hat and their a team will help you, right? Certification, ensuring the software works with the specific hardware and other software. So it is a Red Hat responsibility, right? They continuously doing there in this ecosystem that they are just testing the new features on the new specific hardware. And if that works, you can get that certified hardware tag for that. right? And they have that many products, but most of them that RHEL, which is called Red Hat Enterprise Linux, OpenShift, which is the Red Hat Kubernetes version. It is built on top of the Kubernetes. They just put some advanced feature on top of that, and the Ansible, which is a popular automation tools, right? And in 2019, it was acquired by the Red Hat, but Red Hat is still continuously working with this independent subsidiary to support all this open source project, right? So what is RHEL ecosystem, right? So RHEL ecosystem is a very vast ecosystem, right? We have the many things inside this. With this, right, we have the different variants of the operating system. Like we have the RHEL server, which is a standard operating system, comes with the 10-year support and usually used in the data center, virtualization, databases, and all this. We have the RHEL for Edge, which is a very lightweight container support and mostly used in the IoT devices, telecom, and everything. Like in the small devices, you have seen that. We have the SAP, which is the SAP HANA workload. We have the HPC, which is a high performance computing workload. Right? Comes with the AI training and everything. Apart from that, we have the content delivery and package management. Content delivery, as I mentioned, that it is a we have the package manager called Yum and DNF. No worries if you are not getting all these terms because we are going to discuss each and every term in very detail. We have to subscribe that using that RHSM manager, which is something called subscription manager, right? To maybe you can down subscribe to a Red Hat CDN where that everything is already up to date, or maybe you can manage it via your Red Hat satellite. Let me know in comment box if you need a series on the satellite, Red Hat satellite, how it works, how you can install, how you can manage. So I will create one for that as well. We have the app stream where we have the modular content for the newer app versions, right? Like the other third party versions. Apart from that, we have the EPEL. EPEL is an additional package, right? It is an extra package for the enterprise Linux where the community works. Sometimes there are few packages which might not get packed with the Red Hat version, right? And still you can use it via the EPEL. These are the additional packages for the your Linux. If you're talking about the DevOps developer and automation tool, so we have the Podman, which is kind of Docker alternative, you can say, right? It is in the RHEL 8, RHEL 9 that by default the Podman comes. Ansible automation platform, we have the tool include that these are some additional developer fields stuff. Builda and Scopio is a tool where you can build your own customized image which you can run via the Podman as a container. Okay. So we have the cloud and container platform, which already talked about, like in the public cloud also, like AWS, Azure, GCP. You can run with your own pay-as-you-go model, or maybe you can bring your own subscription there and you can use that. We have the gold images. Gold images is nothing which is a pre-configured image from the Red Hat and already there in the marketplace. You can just get and download it. We have the OpenShift. OpenShift is again a kind of enterprise solution for the Kubernetes from the Red Hat, but this is dedicated as well. And we have the cloud solution as well, like ROSA on AWS, AR on Azure, right? And on in the uh, cloud as well. In the private cloud, when we say the Red Hat, it's a Red Hat OpenShift private cloud. We have the universal base image, which is again very lightweight version of the your Linux, which you can download, and top of that you can install your required packages for your application and you can run it as a container as well. We have the management and security tools like Red Hat Satellite, which will help you to manage the life cycle of your package, where you can patch your, you can downgrade, you can fix the bug fixes, you can apply the security patches and everything. Insight is a kind of that it is a successor of that. Let me see. I just skipped it from my mind. It is formerly Insight, right? Red Hat Lightspeed. So because in RHEL 10 it comes with the Lightspeed, right? So Insight is nothing which will give you insight information of your operating system. If is there any vulnerability, right? So you can take a help of this and it will help you to uh, remediate those as well, because we have a ready-made Ansible script already there on the hybrid cloud platform. I will show you all these things. OpenSCAP is again a compliance scanning tool which you can put some kind of benchmark. You can set that profiling, and accordingly, if your server is not compliant, then it will give you a hint, right? SC Linux again is a kind of barricading against your OS, right? It is a kind of guard, right, which is sitting between your operating system and the outside world, right? It is a very, very good thing. We will see in detail what is Linux, how it works under the hood, and everything, how it can enhance your security. Certification and support ecosystem that we already talked about. It is tested on thousands of server from the different vendors like Dell, HP, Lenovo, Cisco, and everything. Software certification, it works with the Oracle DB, VMware, Microsoft SQL, and everything. Subscription, we have seen that okay, we have the standard and premium. These are the model of your subscription, right? Accordingly, you can get the help. Apart from that, we have the developer subscription as well, right? I will show you how you can create your developer subscription account, and you can register up to 16 VMs on this portal, which will works like a charm, right? So in all these, what is the contribution from the Red Hat? As I mentioned, Red Hat is supporting this open source project. By the way, this image is from the Red Hat documentation as well. I have not created this. It is from the Red Hat documentation. So this image, this Fedora project, right? It is an upstream project for the Linux, right? It contributes to the EPEL, which is run by the community, right? Whatever that has been tested and everything, those component will be applied to the CentOS stream. CentOS is nothing, it is a pre build or maybe pre-image of your enterprise Linux, right? It is a midstream which is sitting between the Fedora and the your final image, right? So it gets the whatever the core component which is already tested in the CentOS stream, and then a developer and testing team will test their application. They work with the other things, and they just continuously delivering that. If that is version is fine, right, then they have ported to the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And from the same, they are just supplying to the standard UBI image and the core OS, which is generally created for the OpenShift to run it on it. So what Fedora is, we have talked about more. Fedora is a community, right? The Linux operating system. It's a free open source project which is being built like this Unix Linux kind of operating system, and from that they just pick the kind of cherry picking the content and make it to the cent stream, and on the CentOS again they will gonna test their application and everything, right? And then because whenever you will see that okay, nowadays I think Red Hat 10.2 is already released, right? But since Fedora 44, right? So Fedora 44 may be a pre-release version of 10.3. So you can go and you can see that okay, what sort of features are deprecated, what sort of features are removed completely from that, right? Maybe a hardware update, right? A new kernel will not run or maybe on the old hardware. So all these things you have the capability, you can go and you can run all these with the help of Cent. Once it is tested and it is a stable version is released, you can go and easily upgrade your system. We have the EPEL. EPEL is again, it is a special interest group build and maintain a community supported package repository called EPEL. And how you can get it? So I have already placed that each and every uh, link there, right? So you can go and you can talk about this EPEL. Similarly, we have this Fedora, right? So Fedora also you can see that okay, what Fedora is, how this project works, what is the contribution. If you wanted to download the Fedora, yes, you can download the Fedora operating system and you can build your own system, right? If you wanted to check the documentation, so we have this documentation as well, and you can check all this stuff. Then we have the CentOS stream. CentOS is again, I have mentioned, it is a middle stream between the Fedora and the RHEL, right? How you can download it? You can go to this document. I'm not sure why. Yeah, you can see that Fedora is the latest version is 44, right? It is just released, and if you wanted to download, you can download the workstation, you can download the server community version, you can download this Plasma desktop, and there are many more that cloud version, the core OS for the IoT, right? So all these are already working, and you can go. If you wanted to run more about, then you can just click on the learn more, and it will open that the documentation which I am talking about here. You can learn okay what it is having, what they are doing, right, how you can join the community, how you can contribute towards community, and all everything. We have this release version as well, which you can talk about the what all these is and what is happening behind that this. Similarly for the CentOS, right? If you go and you can just get this version that if you wanted to if your hardware supports, right, version 10, then you can download the ISO, you can install it. If not, then probably you can download the CentOS 9 version, right? So this is all about this CentOS and everything. You can go through with this CentOS release note as well. If you can check that, okay, this is the latest version architecture needs to run the CentOS, and if you are on ARM or IBM or a different hardware, then you can just verify the architecture, what are the repository, what is the base OS, upstream and everything. This is the kernel version you are getting, programming language and compiler, right? This is the default version you will get. What are the web servers, database, and technology, desktop technology, that the version Genome desktop, right? And the software, this DNM version is 4.20 will come. What are the removed functionality from the CentOS 9 to CentOS? They will gonna remove this. Desktop application will be removed. The Redis support will be removed. What are the known issues? Secure boot, right? So you can kind of make yourself ready before a Red Hat new version will be released, right? So this is very, very important, very, very helpful for to understand all this. Similarly, we have the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So from where you can get, just click on this link and it will land you to the official website of the Red Hat where you can download the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Right? This is the life cycle for any of the version starting from RHEL 8, I believe. They will gonna give you a three phase of the support. One is the full support that will last up to 5 years, and then will become a maintenance support, then again will come to the next 5 years, and then we have the ELS phase, which is the extended life, right? For that you need to purchase a different subscription, right? So till here that you have that subscription, then you can get the full support. The maintenance support means they will just release that particular security fixes and that bug fixes, right? With this ELS, they will just fix the bug. They will not give any kind of security fixes and everything. Then we have the RHEL. I have already explained that you have the capability to customize that OS according to your environment, right? So for that we have something called image builder comes with, right? And we have two option. One is this is for the Red Hat Linux, right? You can go to the documentation if you wanted to download, then just go and get the latest 10 version, right? We will talk about in the next video how you can download that ISO, how you can install it, how you can register that, so that everything will be coming in the next video. And this is the customized RHEL system with the help of RHEL image builder. If you have your own what do you say that this on-prem solution, right? But we have that hosted service on the hybrid cloud as well, right? Maybe it is required login. I'm not sure I'm already logged in or not, but there also you have the capability, you can just customize. I will show you how you can build your custom image using the hosted service on the hybrid cloud, which is a console.redhat.com, or maybe if you are using your on-prem solution, then how you can build it. Then we have this light speed we already talked about, which will give you compliance in the vulnerability to remove that security warnings and everything. We have the cloud access program, which will help you to place your Linux server on the AWS Microsoft Azure, right? So you can just simply click on these and it will take you to the article where you can get all the information if you wanted to run your Linux server in the Azure. How you can install, how you can configure, how you can do it with your configuration, subscription management, and everything. Then we have the Linux Core OS. Linux Core OS is basically a immutable operating system, right? Which generally was created to run the OpenShift, right? Where you can just get it's basically a container itself, right? Which will run as a CRI-O. CRI-O is nothing, it is a container runtime interface which was there for the Docker as a Docker container D, right? So now it is a CRI-O which will run this all this stuff. Apart from that, we have the universal base image, which we already talked about. Like we have the basically four type of UBI image. UBI standard is general purpose image with essential tool, right? But if you just wanted to very minimal, so we have the micro and we have the minimal. We have the init, which you can just use as a system D, right? Including system D, like you can just start your own stuff in that. Right, so we'll see for the UBI one of the demo as well if you wanted to run, let's say, the Puppet or maybe the Ansible, and then how you can run that container using that UBI image. Now the last part is how you can download these RHEL, right? So which we already seen that okay, Fedora, how you can get it, EPEL if you need to set your repository, how you can get it, CentOS stream. Evaluation download is nothing, right? It is a kind of a trial period from the Red Hat, which will give you a official subscription for a limited time. I'm not sure whether it's a 30 days or 60 days, but yes, you need a account on their customer portal, and once that is done, right, then you can simply click here and you can log in with your. So you can see that this is Azure, how you can get and everything. This is required a login, right? Anyways, but this is your evaluation period for your Red Hat, right? That okay, it is 60 days, right? So you will get a 60 days full-fledged support from full-fledged subscription, everything you can do with your this subscription part, right? Once the subscription is over, doesn't mean that your product will stop working. No, it will continue to work, but maybe it will not get the support. It will not get the patches, everything, right? So alternatives for this, you need to buy a Red Hat developer subscription. Not buy, but you just need to access and you need to set up. It is a freely available subscription, and you can subscribe up to 16 system to this under this developer, right? Apart from that, this how you can do on AWS, GCP, Azure, and the cloud init stuff. If you wanted to run Linux as a container, so for that we have already discussed that we have this universal base image, which is a UBI image from the Red Hat container ecosystem. Then we have this image mode, which is introduced in the RHEL 10 as well, right? Which is something kind of will give you a native tool to build and deploy, right? Basically, you can run that entire image as a bootc container image, right? Like you have that image, you can just top of install your everything, and then you can build that image and run that as a container somewhere else. So this is a image mode for the RHEL 10, which is introduced in the RHEL 10 only. Apart from that, we have the virtualization in the sense like which we will you right, like you can place your Linux VM on top of that physical machine. You can create your own physical machine, Linux virtual machine, how you can create and everything. So all this. If you wanted to see what else we have in the RHEL, so this is the documentation for the product called Red Hat Enterprise Linux from the Red Hat. And if you go to that page, you can choose your version, which version you are talking about. You can go through with the release note, what are the release notes we have, right? Apart from that, what they are planning to in RHEL 10, which is a key difference. You can talk about RHEL 9 and RHEL 10. Then how you can install that RHEL, whether you are installing via installation media like ISO image and everything, or you are installing via network, or maybe automatically installing RHEL. Customizing Anaconda is also based that GUI based if you are installing. If you are running already RHEL 9, then you don't want to install it from scratch. You are just simply upgrading it from RHEL 9 to. So using the leap process, you can do that. right? If you need to customize your image, right? So how you can customize that image, for those information you can get it from the system administrator. What are all changes they have that you can go, like configuring using database server, then what are the changes, deploying mail servers, right? Managing software with the DNF tools, right? RHEL web console, that cockpit service, cups printing service, most of the supports experience, custom configuring time synchronous, that cronny and everything. What all security they have introduced in the RHEL 10 using SLNX, security hardening, networks, right? If you're talking about the networking, so we have the network manager is the uh, default service which will takes care of your network. Then we have the identity management, how you can install that your own identity IDM tool, or maybe if you're talking about the Kerberos, LDAP or AD, how you can do all that stuff. Then we have the storage, right? How you can install, manage the storage, that LVM, or maybe if you are talking about the logical volume or the device mapper, multipathing and everything. Then do we have the cluster availability? Do we have the container and virtualization? Do we have the cloud? Do we have the any kind of developing application if you need to do? Then how you can do on RHEL 10. So you can see that this document is very, very helpful. They have categorized everything according to the niche, right? According to the category like cloud, application, database, storage. You just need to clear with your requirement. Once you are done, then what you can do, you can just get to the document, read about it, and you can do it. All right, so that was a quick introduction, like what is Linux, how it works, what is the ecosystem, what is Fedora, CentOS Stream. Maybe you guys are already aware about all this stuff, right? But just to, because this is the RHCSA, which is a scratch from the Linux. So just to thought to discuss all these things and how we can get all these things, right? So what is Fedora, how it works for the EPEL, what is CentOS Stream, and then it comes to the RHEL line, right? Because Red Hat follows a back-ported stuff, right? Whatever that already tested in maybe CentOS 10.3, if that is tested and become a certified version of that particular release, that will be introduced in the Red Hat 10.2. Maybe by that time we have the next version of Fedora, and it has uh, already went to the 10.4, 5 like that. So that is a backporting thing. Like Red will introduce those things which is already they have verified, they have tested on the CentOS stream, right? So that was a quick overview of the RHCSA, and that in the next class I will show you that what all contents we are going to discuss with this RHCSA series, and how you can install your because we will gonna mostly run on the RHEL 9 machine, and but I will show you if possible like how you can set up a Fedora, how you can set up a Debian. We are using from the Debian, but that is not again from RHEL. But so we'll focus on this RHEL only, and the CentOS, right? So CentOS, Fedora, and RHEL 9 I will show you how you can do it. Okay, for the new feature like that we have something called this image mode, right? That image mode, for that we need a RHEL 10 machine. So I will show you that, okay, how you can set up a RHEL 10, how you can uh, subscribe this to the something called Red Hat CDN network, right? And apart from that image mode, there is something, one more feature they have, yeah, this light speed, right? Which is an advanced version of your this insight, where it will help you to uh, remove this vulnerability. And there is one more thing, the flat pack they called it, which is basically for the desktop application, not on the server. It is kind of the virtualization of your container. Like you can run a multiple version of a same application inside your RHEL 10. So that is something called the flat pack they have done. And the container management we have already seen, right? The image mode, and there is one thing on the storage, and I think I forgot that, maybe a volume, right? I will check that what that is, but that we will talk about at the later stage, at the end of this series. Okay, so that's it from today. Maybe we'll start from the next installation and the content of this. So Yes, if you are excited to learn the Linux from the scratch and wanted to know about each and every insight of Linux, how this ecosystem works, then bear with me, subscribe to my channel and follow that bell icon so that you will not miss any of the video which we will gonna discuss in this series from end to end. All right, so I will meet you in the next. Till then, stay happy, stay learning. Bye bye.